Hello, Buddhas. Now, this one is a bit of a weird topic, honestly. And I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to call this video yet. But you have to start to appreciate, maybe not right away, but in time, you have to start to appreciate your failures. And let me explain. Last year, I decided that I was finally going to fix this whole single situation and start dating again. Clearly that hasn't gone anywhere, but I did end up on some dates. And one person in particular I matched with on an online dating site. She was out of town. And we ended up talking for months, like a long time. And I really thought that this was something, there was a connection there. And there was a connection. I'm not denying that. So it was this connection over texting, essentially, and we had some video calls and some voice calls and stuff. And it was very socially distant before the trend. But eventually she made her way to my city and we had dinner together and it was just off. Nothing didn't bleh. And then we were texting again the next day and got into an argument. I was like, I don't need this in my life. Which is really upsetting because I really wanted it in my life. But it's also an incredible lesson because I thought I wanted something and I attracted exactly the energy that I was putting out, right? The texting was great, the conversations were great, the looks and the vibes were great, but then the real life situation was not great. Because I put all my energy into talking to this person and getting to know this person in an online setting. I hadn't put any real focus into how we would connect in the real world because it was an online dating and she was far away to begin with. So I didn't really think that far ahead. And I'm not saying that you have to think that far ahead, but I was being very specific in my wants. And I think that I've learned now from that is to appreciate the failures, to appreciate the times where you thought you had everything sorted out and then that last detail, that last thing ends up being a putz, and then you don't end up having what you thought you were attracting. And at the time, that can be really, really difficult and hard to go through and not a pleasant experience, let me tell you. Love is one of those things that really plays with your mind, and I'm not saying that I'm an expert anyway, I'm probably the farthest from it. But what I do know is that through this interaction, it led to other things. That's a whole other bag of worms that we're not even going to talk about. But overall, now a year later, let's call it, I can look at it and I can objectively be very happy that it all happened. Because I know that it was a step in the right direction. It was those steps forward. It was that learning, that understanding. It was, okay, you got very, very close to what you wanted. One could even say that that interaction between me and her was a soul contract, if you're into that. I don't know enough about oversoul contracts and that kind of stuff, but there was definitely a connection between the two of us. It just wasn't exactly the one that I was looking for at that time, or in this life, or in this with the two of us being in the situations that we were. It just wasn't what it wasn't what either of us wanted, and ultimately it's for the better, a lot for the better. I very much hope that she's very happy in finding what she wants, right? And I'm trying to do the same. And this was kind of brought on by an Abraham Hicks episode that I watched just this morning, where a woman was talking about finding love and then it kind of failing and pushing it away and putting up these boundaries when they actually met. And that is pretty much exactly what happened to me. So I'm not going to go into detail about the Abraham episode, but what happened to me was I thought I had something. I was very open to it, but then when there came to that physical commitment point, like you're meeting face to face, it's like, okay, are we making a decision about what we're doing here? It fell apart. And there was this energy that I couldn't describe at the time. Nothing I could say or do was the right thing that she wanted me to say or do, and I was constantly trying to please her. Duh. It was my nice guy phase. I had to get over that. Now, she didn't actually end up helping me get over it. Finally, she was the penultimate get-overingness, because there's one more that we shall not talk about. However, maybe at a later time, the real learn here is not love, but manifestation. I manifested, and I'm taking full responsibility, accountability, whatever. I'm taking full credit for manifesting a beautiful relationship, period. That didn't end up lasting in the physical world. I don't think there's anything wrong with that personally. That relationship served when it needed to serve. It filled a void that both of us had at a point where I was very lonely. She was talking to me all day, so something was there. And it has given me a lot of perspective now about what I want in a partner, right? Instead of just meeting someone, not liking it, moving on, this was a longer drawn out kind of not knowing. And I brought it through to fruition. And that fruition was not happily ever after married. But I'm grateful for that. And not in a grateful because I dodged a bullet kind of way. I'm grateful in a garbage truck going by kind of way. No, I'm grateful in a way of learning and understanding and being able to acclimate that into my being and to say, okay, cool, we've got a good win here. We've got to learn. We've got an understanding now of what more needs to be done, right? This is where I was at that phase of my journey a year ago. It was a very different outlook on life that I had. A year later now, after dedicating myself to the self-development, to the spiritual community, to understanding metaphysics, to listening to this content and reading this content, and I'm a changed person. But everything had to happen in order to get there. So I think my overall message in this one is you manifest everything, period. So start being happy about your manifested failures. There's my title. Be happy about your manifested failures. 65 kilometers an hour in a school zone, buddy, good job. And make sure that you are consistent about that, because the higher your vibe gets and the more conscious you are about what you're doing, the greater the benefits are going to be of the things that you manifest. Because now that I know what I'm doing, I'm walking around with this kind of in the back of my mind, even if it's not something that I'm constantly trying to figure out, okay, I'm walking down the street, I need to manifest sidewalk in front of me. No, it doesn't get that nuts. My subconscious can handle that, no problem. I don't need to think about that. But I definitely manifested this failure, and I'm extremely grateful for it. So until next time, peace.